Now, the Sermon on the Mount talks about how if we actually take the gospel, the essential message of Jesus Christ, and we live it out, what will it look like? And now we get to the area of money and possessions. And Jesus tells us three things that we can draw out here. He tells us how money exercises power over us, and then secondly, why money exercises power over us, and then thirdly, how we can break the power. Now, first of all, how money exercises the power over us. And one of the curious things for interpreters or anybody who's reading and trying to understand the passage is this illustration, this little saying about the eye. It says the eye is the lamp of the body, and if your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. If your eyes are bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. Now, what that means is very simple. We're in this room, and there's light in this room. And if your eye works, it means if it takes the light in, you will, by the light, be able to move your body through the room. You'll see where the aisle is, and you'll move that way, and, you won't stumble and you won't fall. And all this saying is basically pointing out is if your eye isn't working, even though there's a lot of light all around the rest of your body, your whole body is, in a sense, is in the darkness. If your eye's not working, there's a sense in which there's no other part of your body that can see or take light in and see. So if your eye's not working, your whole body's in darkness, whether or not the whole room's flooded with light, see. In Luke 11 and 12, Jesus uses the same discussion, this illustration, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is dark, your whole body is dark. And he also talks about money. Again, it's connected. And when you get into Luke 12, you see, after he talks about the eye and the lamp, he says, so watch out for greed. That's in Luke chapter 12. He says, watch out for greed. He's saying that greed and materialism is an inordinate desire or dependence on money and material things. The materialism has the peculiar effect of blinding you spiritually, of distorting the way you see things. It has a power over the way you see everything. Now, what do I mean by that? All right, well, let me give you some examples. First of all, for example, materialism has the power to blind you to materialism. Some years ago, my wife, Kathy, noticed that I was doing a series of monthly morning breakfasts. I was speaking in a men's breakfast once a month on the 7 deadly sins. And the 7 deadly sins have lust, and they have pride, and they have envy, and they have anger, and so forth. And, of course, one of the 7 deadly sins is greed. And Kathy says, now, are they advertising these things? I mean, are they saying, here's the subject, and then people are bringing their friends? I said, yeah, right, they're advertising. He says, so they'll know when greed, the month that you're speaking on greed. I said, right. She says, watch, the attendance is going to drop. It's just going to go down. They're not going to come out to hear about greed. And she was right. She was right. It was the worst ended of all of them. And I thought about that. Why? I'll tell you why. It's not that they were hostile. It's not that people said, oh, that's a terrible idea. I don't want to talk about greed. I don't want to hear about greed. Oh, no. Everybody was just so absolutely sure it's not true of them. See, this is different than the other sins. This is why Jesus says this is an eye sin. This darkens your eyes spiritually. Jesus did not say to anybody, watch out, you might be committing adultery. I mean, if you're committing adultery, you know you're committing adultery. You don't say, oh, you're not my wife. I mean, it doesn't happen, But Jesus has to say, watch out, you might be greedy. You see, because greed hides itself. It blinds you in a way that adultery doesn't, really. I mean, if you're committing adultery. Over the years, as a pastor, I've had people come in to talk to me about sins. But I don't think I ever remember anybody coming to me ever to confess the sin of greed. Now, I know what this means is Jesus is saying, you don't ask. You don't consider the possibility that you're greedy. You just don't think you are. You just say, me, greedy? You think of rich people. You think of people that spend tons of... The trouble is you've all got friends. In fact, most of you even have a relative who's much more kind of extravagant with money than you are. And that's all it takes. All you got to do is know somebody who's really greedy, and you don't even think that you're greedy. You wouldn't even consider the possibility that you're materialistic. If you're there tonight and you say, well, this is not a problem of mine, that's a very bad sign. Jesus is saying, watch out, this is a sin of the eye. It darkens your eye. For example, materialism has the power to get you to choose a job, not one that you love, not one that you're good at, not one that helps people, but one that just makes you money. You do it because it'll get you to a certain status in life. And you choose the job on the basis of that. You know, for 5 to 10 years, the adrenaline can keep you going, and then after a while, you just find yourself empty inside. Why did you choose the job? Your eye was dark. I'm not saying everybody does this, but so many people do. Or let me give you another example.